Here's what General Hillier, Vice-Admiral Norman, here's what General Hillier told us last night. He advocates for it now.
But you know what they need overall, more than anything else, is a no-fly zone. And to say that that might be escalatory, I think that shows the lack of backbone in NATO right now. NATO fought a war in Afghanistan, and by stepping forward now, we'll just avoid having to meet Putin at the Ukrainian-Polish border or the Ukrainian-Hungarian border or another place soon, because that's where we will. They need a no-fly zone. They need that kind of support.
Vice Admiral Norman, what's your read on that? Is a no-fly zone what to do, or is that going to escalate towards a terrible war?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is just go back to what Carl said a couple of minutes ago. I think he's captured what would be the geostrategic implications of it, notwithstanding the military merits that I believe, and far from me to try and explain what General Hillier is trying to say. He's more than capable of doing that himself. But my sense is he's expressing a couple of things. First of all, it's a degree of frustration with the fact that, notwithstanding all the concerted efforts that we're seeing and that you're reporting on, the West is to a certain degree stuck. Meanwhile, Russian forces are advancing aggressively and attacking civilian population in Ukraine. So that's legitimate frustration. I think the second thing is, what measures from a military perspective are reasonable or not. And it does make sense that you would try and restrict the use of the airspace over Ukraine. But let's be very clear what we're talking about here. And I think Carl touched on it. We're talking about a declaration. This case, it would be by Ukraine, to invite external forces to come in and basically not only police the airspace, but deny access to the airspace, which would include direct confrontation with Russian forces, because tactically that would include attacking Russian forces before they even take off. And it would also include suppressing their ability to defend what they would argue is airspace that they're using tactically. So we're very clearly looking at a situation where there would be direct confrontation between those imposing a no-fly zone and the Russians. Is it feasible? Yes. Is it advisable? Perhaps not. I would suggest, and this is perhaps out there, maybe some of those countries that are refusing to weigh into this in the United Nations might be in a position to step up, and maybe China and India, who have two massive militaries and very capable air forces, might be in a position to intervene and help what is sadly going to be an irrepressible movement of Russian troops into Ukraine.